Mike Hobin is the director of the Office of College Career Readiness at the Rhode Island Department of Education. He's a former high school principal, including Coventry. We have some Coventry folks here today.
Where's my Coventry people? All right.
There you go. And also was the Rhode Island High School Principal of the Year. So he's got very good, extensive experience. I'm going to let him start. He's going to take you right through the basics of AI and how it can be beneficial for you as school governance leaders. Mike?
All right, thanks so much. And thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak with you today. I fully recognize that I am in between you and the most beautiful day outside. So I am going to try to do my best to get through the slide deck. But I certainly appreciate the opportunity to share some of the things that we're working on at the state level and essentially helping school departments implement or determine the next best steps as they get exposed to this thing called AI. I thought it would be helpful for you to see the folks that have worked on this with me at the Department of Ed. I've worked with Steve Osborne. He's the Chief of Student Opportunities. Along with our consultants, Nona Ullman and Ryan Goebel, they oversee a company called Improve LLC. They were awarded our initial grant to assist us in policy development, guidance development at the state level. They have been invaluable to me, and I think the state, in helping us roll this initiative out successfully. And again, I'll share this presentation with your association, and then it can be shared more widely, and you'll have access to everything in here. But by all means, ask me whatever you'd like. Oh, it's working? All right, great. All right. All right, excellent. Okay, so of course, Commissioner Infante Green has been keeping a very close eye on the work that we are doing in this space. She recognizes that it is an invaluable tool for some students and teachers and leaders in the school department to ensure that it can be an asset to schools and teachers. We do not ever want to see the technology replace the educator in the classroom. It is to enhance the education in the classroom, supplemental versus anything that would supplant learning. So she's been very clear with what her hope is for school departments to be able to use this emerging technology. A little bit of our timeline. We began the journey almost 2 years ago, like right now, in May of 2024. In June of 24, we kicked off a survey to parents, to students, to teachers, to administrators. We held stakeholder meetings with school committee members, with superintendents, et cetera. We had a lot of stakeholders that gave us initial thoughts on how we should proceed with our AI guidance. Moving into July of 24, we launched a Lunch and Learn series. August 24 to 25, we spent our time building our AI guidance document and got final approval. And of course, anyone who's worked in policy development before recognizes how many layers of approval need to happen before something is actually presented to the public, especially at the state level. So it took a year for us to get that finalized and formalized and vetted, and internal reviews, et cetera. After the guidance was released, we went on a kind of a tour with the guidance, having a webinar series in which we reviewed each and every section of the guidance document to ensure that LEAs and LEA leaders were familiar. It was open to everyone. Anyone who wanted to come to those sessions was welcome to do so. In January of 26, we had an in-person workshop in which LEAs came with a team of people to learn more about their own implementation plans for AI. We had a very fruitful 2 days. Each LEA could have had up to 6 people come with them, and they spent the entire day working on their action plan moving forward. Now we're in spring of 26. We're finishing up at the end of this month a webinar series specifically helping those LEAs that came to our workshop to implement and continue their action plan on AI. And then finally, in the summer of 26 and beyond, we really will continue to offer professional learning experiences for admin, for teachers, for school committee members. That's also part of what our goal is. So it's just kind of it's really at the beginning of what this will be for schools moving forward. So one of the things that I think is super important, and as a former principal, I was a physics teacher, then I was an assistant principal, then I was the principal in Coventry High School for 12 years, went down to Westerly for 5 years, and now I'm at the Department of Ed. I have this mindset that professional learning for adults always has to be differentiated. A one-size-fits-all PD program for adults just simply doesn't work. You have some people who are really far behind, and you have some people who are really far ahead. So you do one thing, you've lost half the people in the room right away. So we really encourage schools to differentiate this learning on AI more than ever between adults and students, because they're really all over the place with their understanding and implementation of this. More specifically, we look at this chart often, I did as the principal, when I looked at my staff and I said, where does my staff sit? This is a will-skill kind of a grid in which you've got your high-will, high-skill teachers in the upper right, and leaders, I'll say all, in the upper right-hand side. Those are your early adopters. Those are your teachers that raise their hand, say yes to everything, and they're awesome at it, right? They do this learning on their own. They don't need us to help them do that. They seek out those opportunities. In the upper left quadrant, we have your high-will, low-skill staff. Those are people who are interested, they just need to learn it. Those are what we call your first followers. Your early adopters are on the upper right, your first followers are on the upper left. Those are the people that just need a little bit of support and knowledge, and then they're off and running, and they're the ones that are so excited to learn. Put it in any context. I'll say low will, low skill in AI. They need the skills, but they're just really not there yet. They got other stuff that they're working on, and this is just not their priority today. And then you have the folks too that are also high skill, low will, maybe on AI. Put whatever PD or topic of education against this grid, and your teachers will move into different quadrants. Okay? We like to target right now, today at RIDE, the upper left, the high will, low skill teachers, and I'll show you at the end why. But for the sake of this meeting, again, trying to differentiate for the adults in the room, I don't know your level of awareness of AI. So AI is the application of a computer system that's able to perform tasks that humans do, especially by applying machine learning techniques of large collections of data, right? So here is this thing called AI. You're using it, you may not even know it. It's all over the place, and it's in everything that we're doing at this point. So there are users of AI that don't know you're users of AI. We've got generative AI, which is essentially creating new content. You put in a prompt, and it spits out things as it's learned about those things. If it doesn't know what those things are, it might say to you, I don't know what that is. I need to learn more. Or it searches for things across the internet to help it learn within seconds. Okay? So unlike traditional AI, which classifies or predicts based on existing data, generative AI produces new data based upon the prompts that you put in. Here are some examples of what they are. These are growing by the day. I couldn't even give you a comprehensive list of everything that's out there that is doing generative AI right now. But you may recognize ChatGPT is probably the most well-known generative AI tool that's around. And again, that's probably the one that's on your cell phone maybe, that you've downloaded that app, that you just use as your go-to. It is the #1 tool that people are using today. But again, there are some really creative things for design and visual arts. short story, my daughter got married in December. We had this little picture of her when she was a kid, but we wanted it to go long way versus tall. We took the picture, put it into AI, and it changed the design of the picture, and it extended the images in the picture to go horizontal instead of vertical. And it really was beautiful. And it was exactly what we needed because we had this special frame that we bought. And my wife was like, you've got to be kidding me that just created that picture out of a picture that we uploaded into ChatGPT. And it took maybe 2 minutes, right? Because we kept looking for this picture that we wanted and we couldn't, it wasn't the right direction. But again, coding development, audio and visual generation, you determine what you want. There's a generative AI tool for you to use. Predictive AI is a little bit different. It takes the data that you already have and it uses that data to create what you're asking it to create. Notebook LM from Google is a good example of this, where it only uses the source that you've provided it. You upload a document and say, give me a summary of that document. You can take a 60-page article, give me a summary of that 60-page article, and it will just use that article. It won't bring in other sources and say, in addition to that article, I have this article. It will just use that article. So this is a really helpful tool for those long documents that you want to read, that you just want to get the summary. But I think it's really important for everyone to understand the value of a walled garden. Think of this as a fortress. And this is where your schools need to be paying very close attention, because you don't want personally identifiable information beyond your school department. Okay, this actually violates a lot of different laws if you let your student information get out beyond your school department. So when you decide on what kind of tools are important for your schools to use, making sure that it has a wall to prevent the data from getting outside your school department student information systems is critical. Okay? And they will actually promote themselves as having that ability to contain your data. So we all have to be careful of where our data is going and who's using it.
Does RAI have recommendations yet for what they've vetted?
It's in our guidance document.
Okay, thanks.
So, great question. Okay, so school committee supports. When I was thinking about, and again, I'm putting my principal hat on, and I worked with the school committees for 21 years as a building level administrator. So I presented to school committees time and time again. So I put my principal hat on, and I thought about 20 questions that I think are important for you to think through, and they're not exclusive, or, I mean, there's just brainstormed, I brain dumped a little bit, is what is your own level of comfort and your own level of literacy with artificial intelligence? Do you use AI tools for your own work outside of what you do for the school department? How would you benefit from AI training as a member of a school board? We're in talks with a company in hopes to be able to provide school committee members exclusively training in AI to help you be a more efficient member of a school board. What's your opinion on AI use in schools? You could still be in that bottom right-hand corner of a skeptic. You're just not there yet, and that's okay. That's really okay. As things change and emerge, you may move into a different quadrant. And what is the opinion of your constituents? Like, you represent folks that elected you to a board or appointed you to a board. What do your constituents, how do they want you to vote? Are you engaging stakeholders in those conversations? Have you updated your acceptable use policy for AI? This is where a lot of school departments are today. Are you informed on the professional learning plan of your LEA for school year, that should say 26 rather, this year, and then 27 for next year. Many school departments are building out their PD plan for next school year already. Have you considered using AI to update your district policy with current regulations, meaning the new secondary regulations? Do all your policies in your school department actually, are they current? Right? This is a great tool to be able to dabble in a policy change or two, depending on current stuff that's out there. Upload the new secondary regulations, upload your district policy. Do they match? Have you considered using AI to ensure alignment of your student handbooks to your district policy? Think about your school student handbooks. You may have schools that have all different handbooks. If you have 7 schools in your district, you could have 7 handbooks. But is the stuff in the handbook connected to district policy? Because as a principal, when I had district policy, I could hand it to a parent. Here's our policy. Slide it across the table. If it was my own work, I'd say, this is our practice. This is my practice is to stand at the counter and sign kids in late to school. Our policy is that once your child is late 3 times, I have to call your house and try to ask, like, what's going on? How come you can't get to school in the morning? The policy I can hand to somebody. The practice is just me standing in front of the counter. So have you been able to align your handbook in district policies? How can AI be used to strengthen your lesson planning for your teachers? More engagement in the lesson. Take your lesson. I think as a teacher, how could I have put my lessons into this program to say, create more engagement activities instead of me just talking in front of students for the period? It spits it out in seconds. Incredible. How might students use AI as a tutor? Every high school in the state has access to Conmigo as a tutor. That is an AI tool. It won't ever give you the answer. It'll only continue to ask you prompt questions to help you gain that understanding. It's a personalized AI tutor. Every high school kid has that for free until June of 27. Can AI determine the efficiency of your master schedule? Think about your FTE counts of your staff. Is your master schedule across your district as efficient as possible? Do you have plans to include procurement for AI tools in future budget years? I can tell you superintendents are thinking about this because lots of things are free and lots of things are being piloted, but at some point, things are going to cost school departments another level of strain that you're already feeling. How might your finance manager use AI to find cost savings or spending trends across multiple budget years? How might AI be used to support administrative work of your superintendent? Think about how much time your superintendent spends on administrative responsibilities, and could it be more efficient so that your superintendent is more present and visible in student classrooms and supporting what happens in school departments? So, take a minute, turn and talk to your neighbor of what I just listed, or your own issue, or your own thought. What's your greatest wonder about the use of AI in your school district?
So especially at the elementary level, maybe even into middle school, continues clearly, but I worry about the connections that used to be made as we struggled with certain things, right?
The productive struggle, is that going to be lost with this tool?
Yeah.
It's certainly a major concern for people, right? Think about the use of the calculator. When I'm going to also say, I grew up and I taught in the 1900s, so I like to say, I like to say that. When I went to college, we had an electric typewriter. I did not have a computer. I didn't have a laptop. I had an electric typewriter. I was the cool kid who had the electric typewriter at school. But think about how much has changed since I went to college in the 90s. I graduated in 91 from Rhode Island College, but think about how much has changed since I went to college just with technology. I couldn't have a computer in my room. I had to go across campus to use a dinosaur, right? But the productive struggle of a calculator, right? You have this calculator. Everyone says, you'll always have a calculator, and now it's on your phone. But kids have stopped doing that mental math, right? So what's the fallout of that, right? So I don't disagree.
I have a second question as well, but a corollary to that is, I think everybody in general is going to become reflexive with the use of, they're going to become reflexive with the use of, they won't even think. There's just the immediate reaction to use the phone to answer, to divine any answer to any question. Then the second thing, well, actually two things. I taught accounting at university level, and even before AI, I would have students say, why do I have to learn this? I can Google it. So that's a separate thing. But then if I'm if I'm a parent and I'm reading all this literature about AI eliminating jobs, what does the teacher, the superintendent, the school committee tell these people about the potential impact of AI on their lives? You know, do I go to college or don't I go to college?
It's a great question, and all the research out there says it is going to eliminate jobs. It has eliminated jobs. It's also going to create jobs that don't exist. So we're seeing that more jobs are being created because the AI is forcing new careers, but there are some careers that are going further and further away. Coders are a great example. A lot of coders across the United States have been laid off from work because AI is doing the coding for them. However, there are still people coding, and there still is a need to teach and learn coding, but at a different level. If people don't pivot in those fields, they're going to find themselves on the outside looking in, for sure. But certainly, good points. Maybe one more. The question was, how do you know someone's used AI to do their term paper? And there are some tools out there. Short answer, there are some tools out there, just like there were tools that you could use if the kids took things off of the internet. Those are still emerging. They're not great yet, but I suspect they're going to become incredibly great soon. Hands-on practice using AI, AI acceptable use policies. This was our faculty administration survey. Implementation plan template and draft, AI use cases. They wanted to see how people were using AI literacy training materials, what communication should we share with our families, our teachers, our school boards, who's responsible for all of that stuff, AI use cases for central office staff. You have some appeals that were really early on of your question of cheating. Some kids weren't allowed into the National Honor Society in a school department in Massachusetts because they were accused of cheating, right? And how do you prove that the kid cheated? And the parents' argument was, my district didn't have a policy that told me I couldn't use AI. And that's where that kid got, that was the loophole. Because the district didn't protect themselves with AI policy in the earliest stages, this kid kind of won the case. The family won the case of the accusation of cheating, right? Now we have teachers teaching kids to cite their AI use if they use it. I'm also an adjunct professor at Providence College. I teach in the principal leadership program. And I do let my students use AI in certain cases. I don't want to take away the productive struggle, but I also don't want a principal going into this work not realizing how efficient some things could be for them. But I teach them to make sure they cite AI in their work. So it's a little bit of a blend. And I think I was one of the first professors at PC in this program. I had a bunch of, I tend to have students at the end of their program. I just teach a general Principal 101 course that kind of ties all their theory together. And they were like, you're the first professor that let us use AI. And I was like, okay, it's still emerging though. So I'm no hero for letting you use AI, but I want you to learn to use it effectively. Think about just that email that you need to send to a disgruntled parent. Without using any student names or information, how do you soften that email? Because you're typing it when you're pissed, or you're tired, or you're frustrated. So soften it, or make it stronger, right? You could also say, maybe you're too soft, and you're prompting AI to do that some for you. We also share with people that AI shouldn't be 100% of what you do. If you use it and use it well, get it to 80% of what the final product should be. And then it's your job to ensure that the rest of the 20% is exactly what it needs to be. So again, it's a tool. It's not to completely replace what you're doing. I think of all the speeches I gave. I think of all the times I stood in front of the National Honor Society families and said, the pillars of the National Honor Society. How many times in 21 years can you talk about the pillars of the National Honor Society? I could throw it into AI and say, can you just create a more creative welcome for families? They're like, I heard this guy last year. This is the same thing he told my kid 2 years ago. It's like, my God, how many times can you do that welcome speech? This is a tool that can mix it all up for you, all right? Or even your graduation speech. I would be very transparent. This is your future. I did use AI to help create this speech because maybe I'm not as great of a writer as AI is. I would tell the kids that, the families that, because it is what's happening in the world. And any principal that isn't using AI to help them with the grad speech is probably lying to you. I don't know. It's not my speech, but it is my theme, and it is my iteration. It could be, and if I'm acknowledging that, does it help that? No. You're in the no use category. Okay, and that's fine. And that's your job as your school department to what your constituents want you to do. And that is still okay.
They cannot speak off the cuff. And that's what's going to happen because the kiddos are going to be handing in papers and, oh wow, this is wonderful, this is great. And then if they are asked to pick up the pen or pencil and paper, and without any tool, all of a sudden they don't know what to do.
100%.
So it has to be a tool, just like spell check. I know I had said a number of years ago, if I was still in the classroom, and I was quite a while, that I think I would disable spell check and grammar check until when you're producing reams of paper, that's one thing, and because there are a lot of typos. But they have to think. And sometimes some of the suggestions are not that accurate either.
Yeah,
So-
Grammarly is a great example of that, where you take your own personally written document, you put it into Grammarly, and it does that, corrects your grammar. It adds that punctuation or that emphasis that you're looking for. So there are tools that people have used for quite some time. Grammarly is a good example.
We all have to adapt, right? We've all gone through generations and changes. But the one thing that always stays constant in the education is always asking the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why. Whatever they're going to put into AI, if they're not asking those things, the how isn't going to be generated to the levels that they want. So if you're teaching those foundations at an early age, then they're knowing what questions to ask or who needs to be involved because they've learned the foundation to put it into AI to get the information. So I guess I kind of look at it as a little different, like this is a good thing, but we have to teach the foundation first.
Agreed. I'm with you. So again, biggest concerns. This was survey results in 24. Academic integrity and misuse, #1 concern, and still is. This hasn't changed in 2 years. Policy guidance and oversight. What is your policy? And your policy could be no use in schools. It's your policy. RIDE does not get in the middle of what your district policy would be. So that is a powerful statement that you would have to create what works for you, your schools, your district, your families, and your students. There are these, fake things that come out of AI that you've got to fact check. That isn't even accurate. Or you ask it for a picture, but it creates a picture that isn't actually what you want. Or things are spelled wrong, or it's a city that's not in Rhode Island, or any number of things. You've seen them online. So there is a reliability check for you to be able to keep in mind. So guidance now, why is it now important? Because kids are using it. Whether we like it or we don't like it, the students are using it. So we have to act somehow with guidance, with policy, so that everyone is clear what the expectations are of the school board who oversees the school district. So it's really, really important. And again, our data shows, again, this is 24 data. We just finished last Friday, or yesterday, new data for 26. And I do have those results here, the first group to see them. But 36% of students say AI helps them learn, while 70% of educators are concerned about its ethical use. This was 2004. Other than student use, the ethical concerns are the same. Again, this is a little bit small, but I'll make sure you can get access to the full deck. But here are 10 things that you can do to mitigate bias within AI to ensure that your prompts are being vetted with data that's actually accurate and unbiased for your groups. Okay? So again, it's a key risk and a mitigation strategy. The workforce reality, 85% of US businesses are already using AI. Every student needs AI literacy. Most high-paying jobs will require AI use, and we're preparing for jobs that don't exist. How do you do that? Put that on the plate. How do you create a job that doesn't even exist? How do you prepare for that? So, core skills, AI and big data, technology literacy, resiliency, flexibility, agility, curiosity, lifelong learning, creative thinking, leadership, social influence, analytical thinking, motivation. So these are all core skills that are projected for 2030. So if you're building out things in your schools, what skills are most important for the people in your community, and how will they impact the world of work? Again, some research in here for you. I won't go into this because I want to get to the other stuff for you, but here's some research about things, occupations that can actually use AI effectively to help them streamline their work. Again, about 50 hours a week teachers spend on the duties in their classroom, whether it be actual direct instruction to students, whether it be planning preparation, whether it be correcting papers. Teachers will work around 50, 60 hours a week. Where can AI support that? And here's a chart, hard to see in this space because it is nice and bright in here, but you can see the time that you can save by using some of your AI tools, if you choose, to shrink the amount of time it takes you to do some of this work. And again, what I said, when your superintendents are doing administrative responsibilities, could they be saving some time in being in the classrooms more often? I guarantee you every superintendent in the state would rather be in their classroom than doing paperwork in their office. Okay, sometimes my principal day really began at 2 p.m. when the kids left. I was like, okay, now I gotta actually do my principal work because I had to do kid work when the kids were in front of me. And then I had hours of work after that school day to do actual return of emails and strategic thinking and student school improvement planning and different meetings. But during the day, my mentality was be in front of kids and be, remove their obstacles. Again, I'm not going to go through these. I'm going to go through these really quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. But for the sake of your presentation, I included a Lunch and Learn series. Here is some national and local experts in the field that we've utilized in the last 2 years to help our state teachers and superintendents learn about AI. This one is just an intro to AI. Here's Kathleen Terragrosa, City of Cranston. She's a national expert in AI professional learning. She's a local teacher here. So we have an opportunity to either get national speakers and local speakers. Lady on the top, Vera Cabiro, is probably the trailblazer out of North Carolina. You actually have a chart in front of you that she helped create. So again, we were able to have these people come in and virtually and train our teachers and leaders in a Lunch and Learn series. Another intro to AI, again with some local and national context. The gentleman at the top at Brown University. Again, we have great local folks here. This was AI for All Learners. This is specifically about how you can help AI be used for kids with IEPs and 504 plans. This is all about safety and security. We had national help. We had a local attorney. So all of these folks helped us understand how to be sure that we were being safe and secure with any AI tool that we used. And then finally, college and career readiness. How do we prepare kids for that productive struggle so that when they do get out of school, they're prepared for life ahead of them? So AI guidance was released. Here is a barcode. Might be a little bright in here for you to see it, but our entire AI guidance is on our website. First tab on the left, scroll down, and it's very easy to find. It says Artificial Intelligence for Schools. But the AI guidance is up there for you to have. But this document, I put it as a scanner if you wanted to just have access to it. Okay? But you can also just find it on our webpage. I'll give you a second if you're trying to scan. Is it too bright in here for it? A little bit? Not too bright? You got it? Okay, great. All right. So our core principles is that every AI decision should improve student learning and growth, ensure student privacy, be used safely, be equitable, and always include human oversight. We never want the adult not being part of this work. This is not to replace the teacher in the classroom. I don't foresee a place in time where robots are just teaching kids. I find that to be like torture in my head to think that that's what's going to happen. Equity and bias, meeting the needs of diverse learners, security, safety, college career readiness, LEA operations, administration, communications, family, caregiver, and community engagement. What does your community feel about AI use? And finally, the procurement checklist. If you are in a position to start purchasing AI tools for your district, we have provided you a checklist of things that you should be careful of and consider before purchasing any tool. And it's essentially, what are the necessary things that you should ensure that your product has to ensure all of the other things work? It can be, in each of our sections, we have 3 subsections: the potential, the pitfalls, and the pathway. So we think aspirational with the potential. In each of those previous sections, each of these sections has a section on potential, pitfall, and pathway. The potential we see as the ideal. This is what it could possibly be if everything, all stars aligned. Okay? Personalized learning, enhanced support, workforce readiness, reduced administrative burden. We want opportunities for kids to have in these sections. In every section, we've also identified the pitfalls, all the things that could go wrong today. We have to be honest about our risks. We have to put guardrails against them. We can enable dishonesty, widen divides. This is a very polarizing topic in a lot of communities, and we understand that very clearly. I'm going to share a personal pitfall that I saw just yesterday. I was at the University of Rhode Island watching my niece graduate with a Bachelor's of Science in kinesiology. Every kid was asked to send into the college their phonetic spelling of their name. It produced a card. When many of you went to college, you had to write your name on a card, give it to someone who says your name on a podium, and you walk across the stage. These kids had a printed card with a barcode or a QR code on every single card. And there was a person standing at the top of the steps, scanned their card, their name and their major went up onto the big jumbotron at URI. AI said their name clearly with good pace. 700 kids went across that stage in a good rhythm. But the pitfall was that a young man named Kyle was called Kylie. Maybe he didn't do the phonetic announcement of his name. Another kid named Jesus was called Jesus. And the worst one, it broke my heart. We had a PhD candidate for physical therapy, and his last name was Saint Jacques, and it called him Street Jock. Saint Jacques turned Saint, ST period, into street, and it called him, instead of Jacques, it called him Jock. Now, if you're a PhD candidate in physical therapy, not a terrible nickname, but not after 7 years of grueling work. But I don't know whether he did or did not do the pronunciation of his name. But I sat there and went, oh God, I'm using this tomorrow. It's a pitfall. It was terrible. My heart broke. I don't even know him. But every other kid, we're often mispronounced as Hobin, always. I always know it's a wrong number if someone's looking for Mr. Hobin. Nope, he doesn't live here. My niece's name was pronounced beautifully. She did it. She did the pronunciation. I did ask her about it. Total pitfall. Aside from those 3 names, I couldn't find another of the 700 kids had a name that sounded wrong? I don't know. Did it need to be fixed? Yes. And then finally, the pathway. What's the reasonable way to get through instructional guidance, safety, and security? What's the most probable thing that's going to happen through the use of good policy for AI? We've created a chatbot for you to ask specific questions, and it will only use our guidance document for your answer. You might ask, please develop an acceptable use policy that only uses RIDE's guidance as a tool. The chatbot will create an acceptable use policy for you in likely under a minute. Get you to 80%, and then the next 20% is what you have to make specific to your school department. It's a walled bot contained within our guidance. Now keep in mind, it took us a year to release the guidance. You can be assured it was reviewed at every imaginable level prior to release. We have 4 attorneys. We have internal departments that all took a look at it. It took forever for release. So if you're staying within our RIDE guidance, you can pretty much rest assured that it's the umbrella for the local schools to use across the state. So a chatbot will keep you right within that guidance document. Ask it anything you want. Create ideas for lesson planning within the instructional guidance section for social studies grade 7. There it is. Here's some ideas. The other thing I want to bring to your attention, there's a great podcast created by Notebook LM. It boils the 65-page document down to a 14-minute podcast. And listen to it in your car on the way home. Whatever that is for your school department, to have it in district policy protects you, your school department, and your families. So LEAs must provide really clear guidance to their families as to what's acceptable in your school department. Use cases. I actually printed this for you because there has been a lot of conversation around with us as to what is age-appropriate use for AI. This is an absolute. This isn't an end-all be-all list. This is just suggestions that we put into our guidance document that your teachers could be using at all in each of these levels, okay? So what is the sample use case? And then what students might be able to gain from having it, okay? Or one of the things that you're concerned. Be careful, any student under the age of 13 cannot use these tools unsupervised. So that's really an important part of the security of whatever it is that you're working on. I also printed this in front of you because this was created by North Carolina. They were probably the state that had the first state guidance in the country, and their work has been changed now one time since they released. But I like this chart because what this chart does is it helps you make a decision. There are some who are 0. This assignment or this work should be AI free. Some people think this assignment could be level 1, could just be used for planning. Some people, this could be 2. Use AI for collaboration. Full AI use would be level 3. And then AI exploration, truly go for it, could be level 4. So, again, key points. 5 levels from no AI use at all to full use with human oversight. Each level has clear disclosure requirements and helps educator communicate expectations to students. So I have a quick question for you. We'll do this together. Student uses AI to draft an essay outline. Put your personal hat on, put your school board hat on. Where does this fall in the continuum for you? Is this a 0? Is this a 4? Student uses AI to draft an essay outline.
I see that and I'm like, I would use that, sure, because I had to suffer through doing that kind of thing. I don't need to relearn
So let's just take a show in the room. On 3, hold up, 0 to 4. Where are you? 3, 2, 1. See a lot of 1s. See a couple of 2s, some 1s. A 3. Who's the highest? Who's got the highest? 3. All right, we got someone at 3. Anyone want to share out why they chose what they chose? Refining your work.
Yeah, just, this is the first step.
Yep.
The very first step.
Yep.
I'm thinking not a 3rd grader, but a 7th, 8th high schooler.
Yep.
This is where we would start.
When I was in teaching, we would use this thing called an essay map, where it would be like these little thought bubbles that kids would have to fill in, and they would have to put their thoughts down, and it was thought 1, and then 3 supporting things for idea 1, and then idea 2, and then 3 supporting things for idea 2, and it was a graphic organizer that kids collected their thoughts on, right? So is this just a faster way to get to that thinking, or is it too much thinking for a kid? No answer is wrong here. It's really what I'm trying to get at. You could be a 0 on this. No AI use. It's okay. That's okay. And I think your point is excellent. It depends. It depends. Or maybe it is, can you give me 3 articles to read that will help my thinking in building an essay? Right? I love it. I was so hoping that somebody would say it depends, because that's exactly where we all land. It depends. It depends on the situation, the circumstance, the grade level, the ability of the kid, the ability of the teacher to help monitor it. Lots of factors in that decision. But it's still a good conversation to have as to what your school department is accepting for work. Think about this now, grade 12. A student's writing their college essay. Does that change your answer at all? They're writing their college admission essay, and they just want just to start thinking. Does it change the answer? You don't have to vote, but does it, the kid has learned all those essay building skills. Does that change what you think about the use of AI to draft an essay prompt, an essay outline? And there are tools out there that can take that essay and do some analytics to determine whether the student did use it, for sure. Yep, and there'll be more, and there'll be more of them, for sure. Yep. Again, here's another example. Pick one of 3. Teacher uses AI to grade. I'm going to be transparent. I've done it. I've had students that have submitted to me their assignment. I personally graded it first, and then I used Claude, an AI tool, put my rubric up, put their assignment up, told me to ask them to give me 5 strengths and 5 challenges of their assignment. I was stunned at how close it was to my own personal grading. I was like, whoa. I graded them first, human in the loop. I told them very transparently, I'm going to throw your assignment without your name up into AI and ask it to grade it for me, because I'm testing out whether it's a valid tool. Right? And anyone who didn't want me to do it, I didn't do it. It was okay. But I did hand grade all those. I couldn't believe how accurate, how close it was to what I scored based upon the rubric that I uploaded for the assignment. A multilingual learner uses AI to translate research articles. A differently abled student uses AI to summarize a lengthy PDF. Is this good use? Is this no use? Is this 4? Is this 3? Decisions that your teachers, your principals, your superintendents are grappling with that could ultimately land at an appeal to your level, right? This is coming, if it hasn't come already. Academic honesty, not in the National Honor Society, got a failing grade on this assignment. Kid uses AI and had a better class rank. Pitfall, right? Okay, so let's keep going. So I think, again, this is a potential LEA activity for your school, for your leaders. Give them this handout. Ask them to think through what they would consider that AI use to be, a 0 to 4. Again, just a thought. You're welcome to use it. And again, I printed a copy for you to take back with you if you wish. You can also create a chatbot for your own school district policy. And then based upon your school district policy, there are so many smart people working in your schools right now, they could create a chatbot that just has all of your district policies in them. And ask the chatbot to give a decision based upon what your policy is. Think about how long do you take to pore over finding your district policies. You could find it in 30 seconds. And then just give you advice as to how to answer it. I don't know. I think it's potential. All right? But again, I think it's an opportunity for you to go back and say, think through some of these scenarios. And I listed 3. There are 103. There are 10,000 examples. Again, the procurement lists that I've referenced. Before you go and purchase products for your schools to use, be sure you're checking through all of the procurement requirements to protect your school district from that liability. Namely, the cybersecurity, the PII, the data insecurity, does it follow all the most current laws, the COPPA, FERPA, does that product protect you against any litigation, right? So we have a procurement checklist in the guidance, page 47 and 48, for you to take a look at before you buy anything. Lots of stuff is still free, but just be careful you're not putting student information up there on it. And then we had a workshop, like I mentioned. We invited LEAs to come to the workshop. Here's what we did with them. Essentially, our goal was to give them time to build their action plan, whatever that is. Some people left that workshop going, we gotta slow down. We've got school departments that are building professional learning into every minute they get. And others are going, slow down. We're still building our AI acceptable use policy. Wherever you are, it's okay. And we're here to help them get where they need to go. And then we have a 4-session working group that whoever came to the workshop, we're continuing to help them build their action plan. Next week or 2 weeks from now is our final one, and it's on their professional learning plan for school year 27. Where are you for next year? What are you planning? And maybe you're only planning a couple of hours. Maybe you're not planning any. That's also okay. Other professional learning opportunities that we see, URI Summer Institute for teachers and principals. We've offered 2 summers worth of training for teachers and principals and superintendents. AI Leadership Lab for school leaders. URI held a 12-week course for 22 school leaders across the state through a series. It felt like a graduate level course for them. We have free online literacy training from the EdTech teacher that you can find on our PD offerings that is free. Some of our are in-person, some of them are asynchronous. But if you go onto the ROD website, under professional learning opportunities, the EdTech teacher has been a great partner with us in offering different workshops for teachers on the use of the AI. No product agnostic, not any one particular product. And we also don't recommend any particular product. Google Workshop is coming this summer for the Principals Association on August 6th. Google is going to help principals see the value or use in Gemini and Notebook LM. We're going to do the same workshop, but just geared towards teachers, specifically classroom instruction, the next day with Google, because just about every single school department is a Google school. So why not make sure people are exposed to the Google platform that exists, and it's getting stronger and stronger by the day. And then finally, emerging data science and AI CTE programming to be able to build for that workforce that doesn't exist yet. The flexibility that our young people need to be able to adapt to this changing and emerging technology. So we have 2 programs opening in the fall on data science and AI across the state. My thoughts, it's going to be a branch of your computer science program if you already have one, but these will be big programming across the state. One is going to be a classical, the other one's going to be East Greenwich. And then 2 years later, where are we? The story the data tells between May of 2024 and today, to be AI curious, to AI using. That's where our kids were. That's where our faculty were. They were from AI curious. They were in that high will, low skill quadrant. Now they're moving to the high will, high skill quadrant. And if AI has not been helpful to them, they're moving from the high skill, low will quadrant. We recognize that too. Some people think, oh, this isn't for me. I don't want to use it in my classroom. Some students say, I don't want to use it either because it's against the productive struggle. Again, kids and teachers all move around those 4 quadrants that I showed you. But by and large, people have moved into that high will, low skill to high will, high skill quadrants. And we can analyze with their survey results where they fall. And we can send it to our schools by district. We had 780 teachers fill out that survey in 2 weeks. And we can break down that survey results by district and by school. So if a school leader wants it, here's your data of what your teacher said and that 2 years later. The problem with the survey is it's not the exact participants, same participants. So we're just looking for overall state trends. Okay, so it's definitely not one-to-one. Like if you did it 2 years ago, you're not necessarily the same person who did the survey 2 years later. Okay, so just a caveat. But the big behavior shifts. It was a score rating of 1 to 5. So when you see the mean numbers, that's what it really means. Like it went from a 2.7 to a 3.119. It's out of a rating of 5. Okay, but personal AI use roughly doubled in 2 years. Professional AI use moved in lockstep. Also, significant usage from faculty. These are all faculty-only data here. ChatGPT is considered still the dominant tool that people are using. Magic School is also the education-specific tool that most people referred back to using. That's a paid-for product called Magic School. Solara is another one. There's a bunch, and there's going to be 100. So when you're thinking about which one's the best one, ask your experts. They'll know. Try it out, pilot it, go slow. Make sure it has all of the procurement checklist guidelines before you purchase it for your whole school department. I don't use AI for teaching, cut in half. Confidence in integrating AI rose significantly. These are all statistically significant responses compared to data 2 years ago. My school has clear rules for AI, had the largest mean shift, which tells me school committees are responding to the request to have policy, whatever the policy is. 2 years later, what didn't change? Cheating remains the #1 concern of faculty. No change. #1. Opportunity versus challenge frame. Is it an opportunity or is AI a challenge? They see challenges more than opportunities today. Belief that AI reduces educational disparities stayed at about the same. Bias concerns stayed the same. And teacher autonomy remained the same. And then two findings worth flagging and identifying. Agreement that students should have access to AI at the school actually softened, which is interesting. That many teachers just want to teach. They don't necessarily want to use this product in their classroom. Student use should actually go down. Maybe using as a tutor or a supplement. The personal and professional use is racing ahead of the comfort with students using the products. Teachers are using it, but they don't necessarily want the kids to use it. PD demand cooled at the top, and I mean by the top meaning that upper right quadrant of the skill-will grid. The high-will, high-skill teachers have slowed down because they already have the skills. That group slowed, but all the other groups still, 4 out of 5, still, many people still rated PD needs still 4 or 5 in terms of priority. So the need for PD is there, but not really with your high-skill, high-will teachers. Maybe they offer your PD. Maybe you use them as your local expert to teach the other quadrants, what they're doing and how they're using it safely in their classroom. Great way to not save, not to save on high consultants and professional developed people so that you can do some cost savings with people who you already employ and probably would love to do it, right? The translation is the high will, high skill appetite is kind of settled, all right? How AI works as a desired topic, they don't want that so much anymore, but they do want how to help diverse learners. How do I help the kid that's struggling? How do I help the kid that needs the extra tutoring? Can you utilize Conmigo to help a kid tutor a kid in a subject while they're at home? We often give kids homework, especially if they're struggling, and expect the families to then pick up the ball, and they're not necessarily educators. I wouldn't suggest that parents can't support their kids, because they can, but could Conmigo be that substitute when the teacher's not in front of them? Okay? Again, these are just survey results. Literally, the survey closed yesterday. And here's the results, because AI analyzed our survey results in minutes. What used to pour, I literally, swear to God, was at my desk at 6:30 this morning at the Department of Ed finishing this presentation. And this email was the top of my email list. And it came in overnight. Our consultants, Nona and Ryan, analyzed this data, but they used the AI to analyze the survey results. This could have taken us weeks to get this information. Close the survey, analyze it. What are the highlights? What are the lowlights? Where are the trends? We have a new high skill, high will grid to use on the 27th of May with our teachers. It's an exciting time, but it's also, again, I taught in the 1900s. It's a scary time. It's really a scary time. My daughter's a school teacher, teaches world language, and I think, oh, wow. Like, what will life be like for you? She's a fifth-year teacher when she's teaching 30 years from now. It'd be so different. Exciting, frightening, at the same time. What additional supports from RIDE do you feel are necessary to help your LEA be successful with implementation? I've done a lot of talking. Here's your chance to have me bring back some things for us to think about.
Who are using AI and how they've used it successfully in the classroom.
Yep.
To share that statewide, that would be helpful.
Great. And we are doing that through our webinar and our workshop series, but I wish I had the attention of every teacher. So we have local experts. As part of every webinar series that we do, we begin with sharing out your work. Who's doing something exciting, share with the rest of the group so everyone can hear it, right? So, but if we had every person attending those, would be awesome, but we do need to do some more of that. Yeah, I love it. What were the pitfalls you faced? Like, you know, I would have corrected that. I wouldn't do that again. Yeah, for sure, love it. How else can we support the school board, the school department, the local teacher? What else can we do to ensure that you have what you need it to be?
Yeah. I'll say to better structure your data sets on your websites
Yeah.
so that we can use AI to generate policy based on them with evidence-based policies.
Yep, great. Policy development, I heard that too. I love just the idea of you updating policies that have been looked at in 25 years. You don't have the time. You probably all have full-time jobs in addition to serving on your local school board. Think about the time it takes to dig out some of those policies that have turned yellow in the binders and have dust, right? They need updating. This could be your lifesaver.
Tomorrow or Monday, we will be looking at the newest review of that, which is coming from our school attorney.
Yeah.
In large part, and I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
Just one other thing, I'm thinking about like the family piece. So as schools move more to using this in terms not just for staff, teachers, but in the classroom, having some kind of communication generate that would answer those questions. Because I find they often mirror mine, but not always.
I think I have two answers to that question. One is, within our guidance, there's an entire section on communication to stakeholders. So if you take a look at that, you'll see some suggestions. You'll see the potential, the pitfalls, and the pathway to communication. The second thing is, like I may have mentioned it, but I probably glossed over it a little bit too quickly. Could someone in your school department create a chatbot that only answers questions based upon your district policy? For a family to enter a question in the chatbot, find your district policy and the answer to that question. Okay, start with a searchable website. Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah. All right, it just clicked for some. The other thing too, and I'm not here, and I don't ever want to be that guy that promotes anything or anyone, but it is May, and do you have any unallocated or unspent funding? No, hang on, let me finish. Before fiscal 26 ends, I was a principal. I'm literally combing through my budget at this point in the school year, and what have I underspent? What have I overspent? Have I balanced my budget? Am I gonna run a deficit? I gotta do something quick. If there's anything that you have that could catapult your staff into summer training or summer work or anything, it could be worth looking at that $2,000, I'm not talking $100,000. I'm talking minor school district funding that is going to not be spent. Does your school department, does it go back to the city and town, and is that more helpful? Maybe your city and town does not find that helpful. I don't know. But I'm just putting that out there that I can tell you that folks are seeking support this summer for this work. And if there's anything that can be done to reallocate just a small section of funds, we could help you find who makes sense for you. If it's policy development, if it's professional learning plans, our consultants have been dynamite. I'm not promoting them, I'm not suggesting you should hire them, but I'm saying that they know people to connect you to. And I'm not talking big dollars, I'm talking little dollars. Yeah.
I would actually like to see RIDE take information from RIDECast and give us a lot more information. You know, if it's your children are scoring in this, category or this specific topic. If we're seeing a struggle in one specific area of grammar or math, things that we don't see because we're not seeing each of the testing individual results.
Yep.
I'd love to see that, and I'd also love to see all of the UCOA, all of our year-on-year, all of our specifics that it can dump
Fiscal
and
trends.
say, this area has been increasing by exponential amounts. And we need that information right now. I'm constantly with our finance director saying, can you go analyze this? With our dining people, can you go analyze this? I want this number and that number. These are things that RIDE has access to, that it would be great to see it, because we can then compare it to different towns and see, do we have an issue happening in a certain area?
There is a tool on our website for that UCOA district by district, school by school comparison. Have I used the the dashboard? It's clunky, but I also have to admit, and I do say this publicly, I loved UCOA as a principal. I loved it because it really drilled down for me. What am I spending in world language? What am I spending in English? What am I spending in art? And I was also the principal of a one high school town. So I didn't have to do comparisons against other elementary schools or other middle schools, which I think is a challenge. Is every elementary school in your district getting the right proportion of funding based upon the needs of the students in the school, right? That's a great question to ask a walled garden AI tool that doesn't let your data get out. So we don't have a RIDE walled garden. We get that data from our vendors who do use the walled gardens, and then they give it to us. But I loved the UCOA comparison. In the presentations that I used to do to school committees was, here's what I used last year, here's what I need or don't need this year, And this is why. I always had to present my budget to the school committee and share with them why I needed what I was asking for. And in Westerly, I had 3 budgets. I had the high school, I had the Career and Tech Center portion of the high school, and I actually was the principal of the preschool that was on my physical campus. So I had to do a preschool budget, and I was a preschool principal in addition to a high school principal, and it was so much fun. It was a lot of work, and those kids are slippery, but boy, they run. And it was a 5-classroom inclusionary preschool that was physically located on our campus. So I presented 3 budgets, and I could show them trends. And in my last year as the principal, I actually asked for less than I had ever, because I didn't need it. Because I was able to do cost comparison. Like, we don't need any more supplies because I have them. We already bought our social studies books. I don't need more. So my budget came in less in my last year than it ever had been in years prior. And that's not common, but I loved the budget work. I really did. But it was just the area that I found to be exciting and I could really make a difference with. But I know that not everybody has that passion for that, but AI is a great tool to be able to see those trends and find those spaces in your school budget that are either being underspent, overspent. What's your return on investment? Are you getting what you put into it? All probably super important questions that you talk about ad nauseum at the school board level. Other things for me to think through as we go back and continue to develop this work. If you've heard nothing else this afternoon, hear this. It's okay to be wherever you are. You're on that map that I showed you in the beginning, and maybe you're at the beginning of this road, maybe you're in the middle of the road, maybe you're that school committee, that's the school department that's had 3 PD days since January's workshop, and you're trailblazing your way through. And I wouldn't say that every person in that school department wants to be the trailblazer. There's some cautious people there too. But it's okay to be wherever you are, and just know that just start where you are, and then put your own local expectations of your constituents and keep them in mind, whatever it is that you choose to do. Okay, thank you so much for having me. My contact information is here. If you've ever wished to reach out to me, please feel free to do so. And I'll make sure that your association gets a copy of the slide deck for you to distribute to your colleagues, or reach out to anybody on there who you think could help you move your issue forward. All right? Thanks, Mike. You're very welcome.